When Stephen R. Covey released The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People back in 1989, he gave the world a framework for personal and professional success that became a kind of secular scripture for business leaders, students, and anyone trying to make sense of the modern grind. But Covey himself felt that the story wasn't complete. Years later, in The 8th Habit, From Effectiveness to Greatness, he returned with a sequel that's not just an add-on, but a reorientation, a recognition that in a world changing faster than any corporate handbook can keep up with, effectiveness is no longer enough. The premise is deceptively simple. The 8th habit is to find your voice and inspire others to find theirs. But if that sounds like something you could slap on a motivational poster and be done with, Covey will spend 400 pages convincing you otherwise. The shift from effectiveness to greatness. Covey starts with a reality check. The world of work and life has transformed since he first wrote The 7 Habits. We've shifted from the industrial age to what he calls the age of the knowledge worker. And that shift means the old models of leadership and productivity, the kind that treated people like interchangeable cogs, don't just fail, they actively destroy motivation. In the industrial era, you could get away with managing people like machines. Give them clear instructions, monitor their output, and reward or punish accordingly. But in a knowledge-driven economy where creativity, problem-solving, and initiative are the real currency, that approach is toxic. People need more than a paycheck, they need meaning. They need to feel like their work matters. That's where the 8th habit comes in. It's about moving from doing things right to doing the right things. From meeting quotas to building something you actually believe in. From being a highly effective person to being a source of greatness for others. Finding your voice. Covey's idea of finding your voice is not about yelling louder in meetings or writing a LinkedIn post that goes viral. It's about discovering the intersection of 4 key elements. Your talent, what you're naturally good at. Your passion, what excites and energizes you. Your need, what the world actually requires or values. Your conscience, what you know to be right. When these 4 overlap, Covey says you've found your voice, that deep, steady note that is uniquely yours, not borrowed from a boss, a parent, or the latest TED Talk. He's careful to point out that this isn't a weekend project. Finding your voice might take years of self-reflection, false starts, and uncomfortable honesty. But without it, you risk spending your life climbing a ladder only to find it's leaning against the wrong wall. Inspiring others to find theirs. The second half of the habit is where Covey pushes into leadership territory. Once you've found your voice, your job is to help others find theirs. And this is where most leaders, and let's be honest, most humans, fail. Too many managers still operate in command and control mode, thinking their job is to issue orders and correct mistakes. Covey argues that great leadership is less about control and more about unleashing potential. That means creating environments where people feel safe to contribute, where their strengths are recognized, and where their work connects to a larger mission. He draws heavily from examples in business, education, and even politics to show how leaders who truly inspire others don't just hit quarterly targets. They leave a legacy. People remember how they made them feel, how they challenged them to grow, and how they made them believe they could do more than they thought possible. The trust factor. One of the most enduring themes in the 8th habit is trust. Covey insists that trust is the ultimate currency of leadership, and without it, all the systems and strategies in the world will collapse. Trust, in his view, isn't a fuzzy, feel-good concept. It's measurable and practical. It's built through consistent behavior, honesty, and keeping commitments, even the small ones. In a world saturated with corporate jargon and hollow promises, trust is a competitive advantage. He connects this to what he calls moral authority, the kind of influence you have when people follow you not because they have to, but because they want to. That's the heart of inspiring others to find their voice. They have to believe yours is real. The moral undertone. Unlike the 48 laws of power, which takes a morally neutral stance on human behavior, the 8th habit is unapologetically moral. Covey's worldview is rooted in timeless principles: honesty, service, respect, contribution, and he's not shy about saying that greatness requires them. Some readers might find this idealistic, especially in cutthroat industries where nice guys seem to finish last. But Covey flips the argument. Short-term wins achieved through manipulation or exploitation destroy long-term value. In his framework, greatness is sustainable precisely because it's grounded in principles that people can trust over decades. Why it still matters. 2 decades after its release, the 8th habit feels even more relevant. The burnout epidemic, the quiet quitting trend, the mass reevaluation of work post-pandemic, all of it underscores Covey's core insight. People aren't just looking for jobs, they're looking for purpose. And leaders who fail to recognize this are bleeding talent. For individuals, the book is a challenge to stop living by default. For leaders, it's a challenge to stop treating people as resources to be managed and start treating them as human beings to be inspired. Final thoughts: the quiet revolution. If the 7 habits was about mastering your own effectiveness, the 8th habit is about mastering your contribution to others. Covey is essentially saying, once you've got your own house in order, the next step is to help build a neighborhood worth living in. It's a quieter kind of revolution, not the loud disruption of tearing everything down, but the steady transformation of creating workplaces, families, and communities where people can do their best work and live their best lives. And that's why the 8th habit endures, because it reminds us that greatness isn't a title you earn, it's a voice you find, and then help others hear in themselves.